Dear friends in Christ, after the joys and excitement of the Christmas season, the 12 days, which just ended with Epiphany a couple of days ago, we now settle in to the long haul of winter in Chicago. January, February, March. And I sometimes feel kind of a sense of weariness, dejection, not serious, but my faith life too sometimes hibernates a little bit, my prayer life. And so it was wonderful to pick up a book given me as a gift by my sister Janet a few years ago. It's called Winter, A Spiritual Biography of the Season. And it has pieces from so many wonderful authors. Marilyn Robinson, Will Campbell, Annie Dillard, Kathleen Norris, John Updike, Henry David Thoreau, E.B. White, and many others. And I've been paging through it and seeing how people look at the backdrop of winter from a spiritual viewpoint. And it helps me remember that our spiritual lives happen in cycles. And sometimes a low point can still be a very, very spiritual feeling and expression. For our faith is really based on a relationship with God, our relationship with each other, our relationship with the world around us, which we believe God created, our relationship to society. Relationships are kinetic. They come. Things ebb and flow. And so I just thought I'd share with you some of the thoughts about winter, a part of this spiritual biography, and just share a couple of them with you. One comes from an 18th century Boston pastor by the name of William Cooper, who sees a link between the particulars of human life and the universal cosmic world. And he wrote a sermon called A Winter Sermon. And from this sermon, I share these words. The psalmist adores the God of Israel as the God of nature, that God from whom all the powers of nature are derived, and on whom they depend, and who produceth all the changes of the seasons, particularly of the winter season. And he quotes, He sendeth forth his commandment upon earth. His word runneth very swiftly. He giveth snow like wool. He scattereth the hoarfrost like ashes. He casteth forth his ice like morsels. Who can stand before his cold? He sendeth out his word and melteth them. He causeth his wind to blow, and the waters flow. Some words in a poem by Jane Kenyon, which notes the nearness of both cold, unforgiving weather and feelings of depression, with the hint of warmth always beneath the surface, like the sound of a rivulet from under the snow reminds us, or that green patch that breaks through in the warm and sunny spot, the surprising tracks, the trees with bark, the sense that life is, after all, surviving, even thriving in a frozen world. Here is the possibility of finding a new and unexpected hope in Jane Kenyon's Depression in Winter. She writes this poem. There comes a little space between the south side of a boulder and the snow that fills the woods around it. Sun heats the stone, reveals a crescent of bare ground, brown ferns, and tufts of needles like red hair, acorns, a patch of moss, bright green. I sank with every step up to my knees, throwing myself forward with a violence of effort, greedy for unhappiness, until by accident I found that stone, with its secret porch of heat and light, where something small could luxuriate, then turned back down my path, chastened and calm. One of my favorite theologians, and someone I had the privilege to hear lecture on his book For the Life of the World, was Alexander Schmemann, who was an Orthodox dean of St. Vladimir's Seminary in Crestwood, New York. His wonderful book For the Life of the World still animates how I think about the Eucharist, the Orthodox theology of the fullness of God's beauty and creation coming to earth in this sacrament. He died on December 13th, 1983. During his years as a teacher and priest, he coined the term Winter Pascha to describe the feasts celebrated during the Christmas and Epiphany seasons by Orthodox believers. He linked these feasts to the Feast of Easter and heightened that linking by recognizing that the time of festive birth is celebrated during a season marked by cold and darkness. Then when he himself learned he had cancer, Father Schmemann undertook his own personal Winter Pascha as he completed what his wife later called the Feast of Fathers Dying. It was fitting, he said, to confirm by God's grace and power all he had proclaimed throughout his life. This joyful acceptance of adversity exemplified the scouring force winter brings into our lives and the remarkable beauty it may create through pain. And one more reading. Kathleen Norris, who wrote some wonderful books, The Dakotas, and then a book on the cloister walk, who loved the really barren and wild badlands of South Dakota. And she wrote Weather Report, February 10th. I walk downtown wearing a good many of the clothes I own, keeping my head down and breathing through several thicknesses of a wool scarf. A day so cold it hurts to breathe, dry enough to freeze spit. Kids crack it on the sidewalk. Walking with care, snow barely covering the patches of ice. I begin to recall a canticle or a psalm, I can't remember which, and my body keeps time. Cold and chill, bless the Lord. Dew and rain, bless the Lord. Frost and chill, bless the Lord. Ice and snow, bless the Lord. Nights and days, bless the Lord. Light and darkness, bless the Lord. Another line comes to mind. At the breath of God's mouth, the waters flow. Spring seems far off, impossible, but it is coming. Already there is dusk ahead of darkness at 5 in the afternoon. Already hope is stirring at the edges of the day. Winter, a spiritual biography. And may hope stir at the edges of your day in these wintry days.